If you're somebody who's trying to build or struggling to build massive arms in the gym, this video is for you. And if you guys are new here, my name's Owen Blue, and over the past few years, I've gotten to the best shape of my life without steroids, without complex diets, and without a lot of the things that a lot of people talk about in the fitness industry. I do things a little bit different. So in today's video, again, I'm going to break down the exact ways that I've used to build my arms over time and how you can do this as well in your own training. All right, guys, so we're going to talk about building Arnold arms. So the key to better arm growth. Now, obviously, this is Arnold back when he was younger, possibly in his prime. And obviously, he was on copious amounts of gear, but we're going to talk about how you can build arms naturally without the steroids, how to actually do it properly based on experience. So the key focuses that we're going to focus on today. Number one is compound exercises. So compound exercises that include biceps and triceps. And I'm going to talk about why we're going to use compound movements to build our arms, because a lot of people, they focus on just isolation and just focusing on the arm itself to build their arms, when realistically it's not the best approach. We're also, again, going to talk about isolation and the best practices to isolate your arms and how to build bigger arms with isolation. And then three, I'm going to give you at the end of this video some real key takeaways that you can use in your training to get the most out of your arm days or arm growth. All right, guys, so when we talk about compound training, right, I'm talking about compound movements. So these are movements like chin-ups. These are movements like narrow grip barbell press on a bench press, and other compound movements that use more than just your arms, but also build your arms in the process. So a couple examples, right? So if we're talking about our biceps, one example that we can use are chin-ups. So chin-ups are a really great way to build your biceps as well as your arms. And if you're not building your arms through compound movements, you're not going to be able to go as heavy with your arm workouts, right? If you're just isolating, you can go heavy, but you have to keep in mind that your biceps and triceps are small muscle groups, right? So you're going to miss out on being able to go really heavy and build muscle fiber through heavy compound movements if you're just doing isolating movements, right? So another example for a tricep would be close grip bench press, right? So a close grip bench press is going to allow you to move heavier weight because it's also using your chest, but it's focusing on triceps as well. And it's a really great way to build your biceps and triceps that a lot of people kind of neglect, especially when first getting started. So anyways, the next thing that I want to talk about is our rep ranges for these compound training. Since we can go heavier, we want to focus on lower rep movements and lower rep sets. That's going to allow us to push heavier and focus on strength and build up our biceps and triceps with less reps but more weight. So I like to stick around 5 to 8 reps per set. And then you can do multiple sets. 3 sets, 5 sets, anything more isn't needed. And that's a key area or key window of reps and sets that I like to stay in. And then really important, especially when you're able to go heavy, is pushing to failure. A lot of people, they get set on the amount of reps, right? If you're like, oh, I'm going to go hit 5 reps, they just hit 5 reps and then they're done. If you hit 5 reps and you've still got another 1 or another 2 before you fail and possibly need a spot, you need to be pushing to that failure if you're focusing on that strength building, right? So that's going to help you a lot with your compound training to build bigger biceps and triceps when focusing on weight, as long as you're doing it safely. The next thing that we're going to talk about is arm isolation, right? So now we're talking about actually moving towards doing bicep movements and tricep movements. But a lot of times with isolation, you want to focus on volume rather than weight. And a lot of people will go in and you'll see them doing a preacher curl or a barbell curl and just going super heavy and a lot of swaying motion and really just not focusing on actual proper form, right? They're neglecting their form, they're lifting with their ego, and they're not building their arms to their full potential, right? So with the voluminous isolation sets, you want to focus on that 10 to 15 rep range. This is where you're going to feel that acidic levels in your arms and in your muscles and really feel that burn more than you will with the heavier, more compound movements. So we're going to focus on 10 to 15 rep sets with our isolated movements. And then with these, you want to push past failure. Now, obviously, if you're pushing a ridiculous amount of weight with our compound movements. You want to go to failure, but with our isolated, more volume focused movements where you're really just pushing past that acidic burn that we get within our muscles when we're hitting more volume based workouts, you can push past failure. So go till you literally can, and then get your spotter to help you do another 3, right? That key one more rep, right? Just one more, bro, is always going to be the thing where the most amount of growth is in your workouts, doing that one more. And we'll give a couple examples of some isolated movements that I really like. So preacher curl is one for biceps. I think this is one that even just like is preached by all the old school bodybuilders, is something that really just helps you isolate those biceps with a preacher bar curl or a preacher curl. And then triceps, a really great one, are skull crushers. If you haven't heard of those, just look it up. Or your cables, right? You can do cable work with bicep and tricep. So these are things that I like to focus on with isolation. Obviously, there's a lot more that we're going to talk about when it comes to those, but we're going to talk about the key takeaways. So key takeaway number 1 is complement it with shoulders and chest growth. Obviously, you don't want to be the guy that just hits arms every day and looks unproportionate. So you want to stay in proportion. One of the best things is to build a big chest, big shoulders, and obviously big back and legs to go with your arms. So don't be the guy that's just building arms, has big arms, and that's it. You want to keep things in proportion. It's kind of really important, and you don't want to be that guy in the gym. And another key takeaway is that triceps build big arms. Everybody thinks that when you're building your arms, you're going to go and just put out as many biceps as you can and put all the focus on your biceps. And this was honestly a mistake that I made in the very beginning, and wasn't long after where I switched to really focusing on both triceps and biceps. And triceps are what really builds big arms. So put a lot of focus on triceps, don't neglect them, and do it just as much as your biceps. And number 3, control over ego lifting, guys. When it comes to arms and obviously smaller muscle groups, right? We're not hitting back, chest, legs. Like, these are smaller muscle groups that if you're always ego lifting, one, you're going to risk injury because your form's not right. It's a smaller muscle group that may be more susceptible to tears. Just be careful out there and focus on control over ego lifting. Now, obviously, if you're pushing past failure, you can get a little bit lenient with your form on those last few failure sets, but just keep things in control as much as you can, and always shock the muscle. So I talked about a couple movements that I really like, but always shock the muscle whenever you're trying to grow, right? This is something that Arnold always said back in the day, especially with his blueprint, was shocking the muscle and how important that is to muscle growth. So if you're going and doing the exact same movement every single day in your workout, right? If you have an arm day or back and bicep day or whatever, upper body, but you're doing the same exercises and the same movements every single time, even if you're progressively overloading, you're missing out on a lot of growth that comes from switching up your workouts and adding variation into your training, right? So variation and shocking the muscle, and that's a really important thing. And if you're not already, start looking for other movements that you can add into your workout and challenge yourself to do things different so that you don't hit plateaus, so that you don't get complacent, and so that you're really focusing on growth. All right, guys, so if you got any value from this video, subscribe. Liking this video motivates me to make videos just like this to help you guys more in your progression. And subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because I'm going to be dropping videos like this multiple times a week, and you want to be the first to be able to watch them and implement them and just join this community. Hopefully you guys got some value. I'll see you guys inside the next video.